Brittney Griner. So legendary WNBA superstar Brittney Griner returned home to the United States on December 9th, 2022, after being detained in Russia for nearly 10 months. Released early as part of a controversial high-profile prisoner exchange between U.S. and Russia, Russian gate agents found 2 timeless vape THC cartridges at the bottom of Griner's duffel bag, leading to a 9-year sentence of hard labor for attempting to smuggle illegal drugs into Russia, a nation famously strict on drug policy enforcement and punishments for those daring to challenge its system. Griner would be released in less than 300 days after the issue sparked explosive international debates about human rights, healthcare, gender gap wages, geopolitics, contradictory American values, and of course, cannabis as medicine. For Brittney's freedom, the U.S. traded Victor Bout, a notorious Russian arms dealer nicknamed the Merchant of Death. Her return was widely celebrated, but many critics complained that the exchange was recklessly lopsided due to numerous detained U.S. citizens and military vets with lower public profiles being leapfrogged for consideration at such a high cost. Either way, it marked the end of a challenging period for the star and her supporters. Next Monday marks the 2-year anniversary of the infamous homecoming. Along the way, Brittney has earned another gold medal with the U.S. women's national team and at the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris, and has welcomed a baby boy into the world with wife Sherelle. Given the whole drama surrounding Griner's arrest was that she got popped for illegally attempting to enter a prohibited country with cannabis, many would have thought she'd speak up one way or the other about international or domestic cannabis policy. She hasn't. You'd have thought she'd speak up in support for others who found themselves in similar situations to hers here in America or abroad. She has not. She's mostly kept her thoughts on everything private until now. Dr. Shonda Macias, CEO of Women Grow, announced yesterday that Brittney Griner would be a featured speaker at Women Grow's 2025 Leadership Summit on February 17th. The organization released a statement that read, "Empowering Women Leading Change, February 17th through 18th in Washington, D.C. In the wake of the 2024 elections, the Women Grow 2025 Leadership Summit is calling on women and their allies across all cannabis sectors and from every background to unite for the survival of the industry and fight for women's basic healthcare rights, the right to use cannabis as medicine." This year's summit, taking place from Monday, February 17th through Tuesday, February 18th, at the Gaylord National Resort in Harbor, Maryland, is going to be featuring 3-time Olympic gold medalist and 6-time WNBA All-Star Brittney Griner. Her story of resilience in messaging, cultivating change, empowering women through personal leadership underscores the summit's mission. Call to band together for legalization, women's rights, and progress. The summit is about more than women fighting for cannabis legalization and women's basic rights to medicine. It is a sisterhood of power that intentionally supports and trusts in one another for the betterment of our country. Now is not the time to be divided. Bold words from an organization that over the years has fought several controversies within its own ranks, now calling for unity behind a former international prisoner who's never spoken out in support of the industry. Either way, 2 years later, we'll finally get to see what Griner stands on, where she stands on cannabis issues. I think it's a huge PR win for Macias and Women Grow, scoring the opportunity. But will it matter? I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News. I hear from you guys.
I don't think so. After this election, I think that some of these groups that she is, championing are going to have to regroup and figure out how they fit in this. Cannabis has just not got all the oxygen in the room. Right. I mean, we all are here because we're in the cannabis bubble. We're trying to move this forward. But you get outside the cannabis bubble, and it's like this is not on the top of the list of people's concerns. And this last election, I think there was a couple of shots, not just across the bow, but some shots right in the midships of some of these cultural groups. Yeah. And I don't know that they're going to be carrying a lot of water for a lot of interest groups until we get through at least the first 100 days of Trump's administration. Let some of the dust settle here. And this is going to be right after he gets inaugurated. And trust me, they're going to be hunting down illegal aliens who are criminals and things like that. There's going to be shit flying everywhere. South Korea is a mess. Syria's heated up again. And so, I mean, I'm just not hopeful we're going to get very far with these groups. But, I'm always willing to listen and see where it goes.
You are so right, Dale, about that. South Korea is a total mess. That their leader Lee, he has to go. Like, he's a crazy leftist. He needs to jump ship immediately.
Leftist?
He needs to come visit Manhattan because they shoot you on the streets.
I think you got that backwards, buddy.
He's not a leftist at all. He's far right and tried to pull a Donald Trump without the support.
He's not. Lee is not. No, Lee is not. No,
yes,
that's not
Lee
true.
is not a leftist, man. You need to check yourself. You need to check your facts on that. That's crazy.
All right, let's keep it on Brittney Griner.
Yeah,
fair enough. We'll keep it on BG. We'll keep it on BG.
We won't dive into other lanes of fake news.
But I mean, honestly, for one, props to Women Grow for still being around. I haven't heard too much from them in years. I remember going to their first leadership summit in Denver years ago, like 2015, I think it was. But I'm glad to hear they're still around, and it speaks to a bigger issue in the cannabis industry where businesses' margins have been getting squeezed for years just due to the collapse in wholesale prices and a number of other market factors. And we have to remember that a lot of these interest groups, whether they're policy organizations or a group like Women Grow, rely on contributions from operators and cannabis businesses. So when those margins get squeezed out, it makes it a lot harder for these other organizations to operate and generate revenue and host summits like this. So I'm glad that they're able to have this event, and they've gotten Brittney to come and speak, because like you said, we haven't heard too much from her since her homecoming. I'm sure that she has a lot to talk about, but I guess we'll find out what she has to say.
I would really want to hear, not just from Jenny Beth, because obviously she's the conservative side of the conversation. I'd like to hear from liberal women, like where they're standing right now, if they're going to change their messaging to get anything passed. Because my concern is the utter backlash towards, like the I'm not going to say woke, because that's a gentrified fucking word.
Is it?
I'm not even going to say
is it gentrified?
Because the way that you and your cohorts, Jason, have hijacked that word is not what the fuck it means.
It is what it means.
When it comes to like,
we've defined it.
When it comes to gender,
it already had a definition. You don't get to define it.
Right.
Everyone else wants to change their definitions. We can change some definitions too.
Let me
just saying
this, please, Jason. All right. So when it comes to gender issues, when it comes to queer issues, Shonda Macias and her words in this statement, it's more about women fighting for cannabis legalization and basic rights to medicine. Sisterhood of Power internationally supports trust in one another for the betterment of the country, and empowering women and access to health, women's health and everything like that. Is it still a good idea? I would just like to know. There's a serious question here. Is it still a good idea for liberal women's group that really they're not looking to rabble rouse, they're actually looking to get shit done? If you know that the incoming administration is diametrically opposed to that kind of verbiage, is it even effective to use that if you're trying to move the needle politically?
I don't know. I'm not sure if I really understand what your question is, Rico.
Talk to them about it's a continuation of our conversation yesterday and the day before. If you know Trump and his lackeys are coming into office, they care about money. They care about the economy.
That's right.
They told you exactly what matters to them. So
we don't care about your feelings. We don't care about your feelings.
It's all about like the unity around the things that lost.
You know what? Money, enriching people encourages unity, Rico.
So having your messaging surrounding something that literally just lost a huge election, is that the right move? Is that the right move to keep your messaging about that?
There's lots of people that always are going to choose to die on their sword, Rico.
So there's another question to this too, though. Is Women Grow actually a policy-oriented organization, or are they a networking organization for women to get into cannabis and meet each other?
I always thought they were a networking organization. It was like a blunt brunch kind of thing.
Organization too. Like I've never viewed them, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I've been to many of their events in Denver. I've never perceived them to be a policy-oriented organization.
I've never have either.
I would argue the exact same, but when Dr. Shanda Macias took the helm there, it became a lot more political. They've been involving themselves in, not very successful.
I have a question. I have a question.
These political hot button issues.
Super serious question for you, Rico.
Yep.
At this Women's Grow event, is there going to be a head shaving station?
I knew it was a non-serious question.
It does not say.
It does not appear. They're not going to have a barber shop.
Show up, Jason.
You guys feel what I'm saying. You guys feel what I'm saying, though, right?
I do.
I totally
if they want to be serious about this political conversation, it's not going to be a conversation if you're not saying anything that's going to even bring them to the table.
And I mean, this is a. Rico, you might agree with me on this, and this is where I think neoliberal ideology goes wrong so much of the time, where it's more to them about the messaging and coming across as inclusive, which, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with inclusivity and being respectful of all these issues and gender ideology and whatever that is. But to your point, a lot of the time is just about political positioning and messaging versus actually doing things that are effective in terms of getting, whether it's policy changed or whatever their objective is. And I think that's something that the Democratic Party and neoliberalism has gotten in their own way for years and years and years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, they're still in their own way. I mean, there needs to be a bloodletting inside the Democratic Party. Somebody's got to be the adult in the room and say, look, if we don't win the election, none of this shit matters. Okay. Yeah. So you got to take a step back and put your positions in context.
Yep.
And go sit down and ask questions, shut your fucking mouth and open your ears and listen to people and see how you can find some unity here. Because, my concern is this is going to be another one of those groups that splinters the political party as opposed to unifies it. Mm-hmm. And right now, the Democrats lost their ass across the board. And I think it was political malpractice at the top. I'd like to know where all this goddamn money went. But they tried to bring all this identity politics forward, and the voters went, oh, no, we're not going to do that. Now, did we learn any lessons from that? And I'm just not sure, because people are still in shock about what happened. But, I'm an old-fashioned Democrat, and, I think we need to close the door and have some adults in the room tell people, be pragmatic, be realistic here. We support your causes. But if nobody else can say anything, and without being called racist or a misogynist or a homophobe or whatever, if you disagree with people who think they're smarter than you, and you're just told you're stupid if you don't agree with me, no, that dog don't hunt no more. So we need to sit down and have some real come to Jesus talks about how this party moves forward, or they can, just get their popcorn and sit on the sidelines and hear from the sidelines for a while.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm going to fact check Jason real quick.
Oh boy.
Beyonce did not get paid by the Kamala campaign. She's come out and provided her receipts that she actually paid out of pocket for her staff to go to whatever campaign event she went to.
Not buying that, bro. Not buying that bullshit, bro. Not buying that bullshit. I mean, the whole beehive is buzzing.
It doesn't matter if you buy it or not.
If you was paying was it like $500,000 per 30 seconds on the Sphere?
Oh boy.
What do you guys like to say, Jason? Facts don't care about your feelings. But anyways, I mean, to your point,
just because she denies she was paid doesn't mean she wasn't paid. Sohum.
I mean, there would be receipts for that, and like
I'm sure that there are. I've seen a whole bunch of receipts.
Well, I'm sure you have. I'm sure you have. But to Dale's point, what are you talking about? The Democratic Party, they're already just showing that they have not learned a goddamn thing from this election cycle.
They haven't. You're so right.
The earliest poll that I've seen about 2028 potential candidate, Kamala Harris is at the top of it by a landslide. And it's like, were you watching a different election than I was? Because obviously that was not the right strategy. And that has I can say that absent of how I feel about her as a candidate and her qualifications.
Right.
She lost the election.
I'm so glad that you're in. I'm so glad you at least have your big toe in the reality pool, Sohum.
I think the majority of us do. It's just the Democrats and the Democratic Party that do not. Like they're the ones like they're continuing not to listen, and they wonder why people didn't show up and vote for them, man. And I think it goes back to me about this particular story. I support queer rights. I support, the person's right to choose like who they want to be with, what they want to do, like all that stuff. I do wholeheartedly believe that Brittney Griner and the case surrounding Brittney Griner, the mystery of what happened, what didn't happen, that can be a unifying moment for a lot of us. But my thoughts just on the words in the press release yesterday is like, you're being polarizing with the words that you're using here. And making it political when it doesn't have to.
And is it necessary? That's the real question. Is it necessary? Is it necessary in this context? Is it necessary?
No, not at all.
I agree with you guys on that. I support everyone's rights to be as free as they want and make the choices that they want. But at the same time, just because you want to make certain choices in your life doesn't mean that you have to make those my realities, and that's just what it is.
I don't think anybody's doing that.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, Jason. Let's go to commercial.
Oh, look at this! Rico's calling for a commercial. Oh my goodness! Oh man, let's kick it off. And congratulations to Anna's daughter who just got her driver's license yesterday. Congratulations! Yeah, watch out! Stay out of the streets of Long Beach.